And here would be the 03 to 06 TJ steering box taken apart. This is my best explanation as to how I believe it all works. Here's the input shaft here. When this is installed, the plate here stays stationary, and you turn the input shaft, this piston goes up and down inside of the body here. This whole assembly is inserted there, and you can see by turning it, it wouldn't be moving it up and down if I had a hand free to keep it stationary. You can also see when you start moving it one way or the other, this whole internal assembly moves one way or the other. What that does is inside here are a bunch of balls, ball bearings, and what it does is what I believe is it drops them all onto the side that is needed for whichever way you're turning. It may have something to do with flow as well, but I'm not entirely positive on that. These teeth here on the bottom ride along and are what turn the sector shaft. You see the end of this coming out right here through your pitman arm. It's mounted in the Jeep roughly here, so when you are turning, actually it would be like this. When you are turning, it's moving up and down like this because the piston is moving up and down this way, so it spins this shaft here. Something that's interesting is everybody thinks that this shaft necks down when it goes inside. I haven't been inside of a Saginaw box myself, but this appears interesting. Up until the teeth, it is the same size. Back here, it is slightly smaller. However, I feel that may be a moot point because it's mounted directly behind the teeth, so being as close to where the force is being applied, I think would negate any possible issues you may have, especially since I plan on tapping this for hydro assist. I'm not going to really worry about it considering I have a spare. This little valve here, you can actually see this with this clip holding it in place on the steering box from the outside. Under it in this order is a spring, some kind of a valve assembly. It's not entirely taken apart. This has another spring underneath it. I'm not going to bother with that though. And there's some fluid ports inside of it. And there's another spring on the very bottom which is what drops in first. It goes this, that, and then the cap. I believe what this does is it limits the box's pressure once it reaches its max. Whether it's max pressure or turning either direction, I do not know. I'm not super familiar with steering boxes, but I'm the only one that I know of who has this thing apart right now, so suck on that. That's roughly how I understand this thing works. Hopefully somebody finds this useful. The only problem I see in rebuilding this is this gasket right here on the back of the input shaft assembly. You probably just have to get some kind of a paper gasket material and make it yourself because this is supposedly non-serviceable. Everything else is sealed by O-rings or thread sealant, so if you have a leak of some sort, it should be okay. At some other point, I'll try and get a part number off of this output shaft seal, or the sector shaft seal, because that's apparently a common place for leakage. Hopefully somebody found this video helpful, so take it easy.